Thanks, Clayton. Sure do appreciate that introduction. So my talk today is what should we do about LVI? And I want to start out just with a show of hands, and neither for or against, how many people have a strong feeling about the use of LVI? People? I had to step out of the light so I could see. So first of all, I want to thank the organizing committee for this opportunity. I want to share with you that I've been a swine veterinarian for 20 years. Before that, I grew up on a 1,000 sow fair to finish farm operation in central Iowa. So in short, I've been around pigs my whole life. I love pigs, and I love the opportunity to work with producers and veterinarians. And I think that's one of the great things about this meeting. In contrast with our Swine Vet Association meeting, we've got a great blend of people involved with swine production here. One of my early memories on our farm at home was when TGE would roll through our area. I remember being eye level with the piglet mortality that resulted. So that image has been imprinted in my brain. And unfortunately, you know, we all do get to experience that from time to time still. PRRS was part of bankrupting our family farm when it was still mystery swine disease. And I remember listening in on a phone conversation my dad was having with a younger Scott D at the time about the use of the new modified live PRRS vaccine. Since then, I've been through more PRRS breaks than I care to keep track of. And like many of you, lived through the PED breaks. And we experienced in the Southwest where it took an early and severe toll. I entered the profession in '98, which was the heart of one of the most difficult economic times our industry's faced. And today we're in another precarious time with the risk of ASF spread to our continent. So I get it when there's disease outbreaks and the personal and economic toll it takes on employees, producers, veterinarians, nutritionists, all those of us that provide inputs to swine production. And that's why this topic can become emotionally charged at times. So I have this much data in my presentation today. And I think it's important that we acknowledge our feelings and let everybody know that we care deeply about the health and well-being of the pigs in our care, and that we take this responsibility very seriously. So as working as a swine veterinarian, or after working as a swine veterinarian at Iowa Select and Seaboard Foods, I transitioned to independent practice and today get to work with all veterinary species in my practice. When you evaluate U.S. swine production, it seems like we deal with a new swine disease every 5 years or so. And because commercial interventions for control take time to develop and come to market, the use of tools and methods meant to instill population immunity have occupied a traditional place in our response. Another one of my early memories from our farm growing up was growing toxigenic E. coli in a refrigerator that had been converted to an incubator to make feedback for pre-farrow sows. The Kohler milk vaccine worked. So I've got 4 boys, and I must say that as they've gotten older and living in the Texas Panhandle, it's been harder to maintain my Iowa State influence on them. Especially the older 2. They've been expressing their autonomy and track Oklahoma State and Texas Tech more than they do my beloved Cyclones. I'm proud to share that at least 2 of my boys want to go to vet school. And I bring this up because we're going to revisit autonomy later on in this talk. A few weeks ago, my middle son, he's the smart-looking one in the glasses in the middle, celebrated his 12th birthday. He and his friends wanted to see Christopher Robin, and it was neat to watch them interact and observe their relationships. And we're going to visit relationships again a little bit later in this talk as well. So you guys know Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. So like us, like all of us, Pooh cares a lot about pigs too. So when I heard one of his quotes from the movie, I took note. His quote was, "Doing nothing often leads to the very best of something." What he meant by that was that our immediate gut or emotional response is probably not going to result in the best outcome. As veterinarians and all of us working with swine production, our job is to manage health. Traditionally, we've worked to manage health within farms or pig flows or systems of farms within companies, just like what got reviewed in our previous talk today. And I'd submit that we've been very successful. But health is like an onion. As soon as we remove one layer, there's another one underneath it. So we need some new tools, methods, or ideas. And I'd submit that it's not going to be as simple as just deciding if we use LVI or not. We've got to better account for area disease spread. I think, Paul, you did a great job of summarizing some of that before. Space, or area spread, is our final frontier. Area spread of disease has been the most unpredictable and significant source of health risk in our area. We've got to get a better handle on controlling the risk factors leading to area spread. The complexities of LVI use and how it may contribute or lessen area spread of PRRS and other diseases is well beyond the scope of my presentation. It is very much dependent on factors that vary greatly by situation. It's going to require new ways of thinking, communicating, and working together. I use this example. Memes have become a very effective communication tool. 15 or 20 years ago, who knew what a meme was? Us older dogs can learn new tricks, so last week I made 2 memes. This one is not one. Mine are much better. You'll have to go to my Facebook page to see them. Seriously though, this is not going to be easy. What are our challenges? I think the biggest challenge is that we make significant decisions about the use of LVI without any dialogue or discussion with our neighbors. And why is that? Probably because it's the most expedient. Probably also because it's a difficult subject. When there's a disease outbreak, in a way it's a failure. And it's hard for us to talk about failure because we're so caring and compassionate and passionate about what we do. It's not easy to talk about failures or difficulties. I submit that we have to develop relationships. Operating without all the information about what our neighboring producers, veterinarians, farms are doing is a disservice to the pigs and also to our clients and neighbors. A few months ago, we had a meeting of swine veterinarians who work with producers in Oklahoma. This meeting was hopefully a start to the formation of an area swine health committee. Some of my key take-home points in preparation and after that meeting are as follows. I think it's important to recognize that we're starting from a position of very high individual autonomy. Producers and veterinarians are used to making decisions on their own about the best way to proceed in their individual cases. We have to acknowledge this high degree of individual autonomy as we move forward. There has to be respect. Respect that we are all trying to do right by the pig and improve the health of the pigs in our care. I think that curiosity is a prerequisite. Curiosity has to precede judgment. To judge before understanding would be a showstopper. Asking why we make the decisions about LVI use is imperative. There has to be trust. Trust that information shared won't be later used against the parties. And there has to be transparency. Transparency that disease information will be shared promptly and not be withheld. In our meeting, there was consensus but not complete agreement that we did not want to take a state regulatory approach due to the complexity of various current and anticipated scenarios. And we'd like to have a legal agreement that takes all these factors into account. And in general, there was support for this new approach. As an industry, we've got to start talking more about these difficult subjects. Just think about how much better we might have been at dealing with PED if we had a network of area swine health committees in place. Let's use the risk of ASF introduction as a motivator to get started now. What are our alternatives? We could keep going along like we have, and I think this would be a mistake and lead to lost opportunities. And will continue to foster conflicts between adjacent producers and veterinarians. And we could invite government regulation, and I think this would be a mistake. When was the last time more government regulation solved a problem? And there would likely be unanticipated consequences that could prevent us from responding effectively to swine health challenges, both endemic and epizootic. So let's start by having more meaningful and deeper dialogue, even if it's just between two producers in your area that already have a strong relationship. Let's lead by example. Let's find the low-hanging fruit. Find the things that we can change that don't cost any money and are easy to implement. Let's build on little wins before moving on to the bigger ones. I think it's very important that we go into this with very low expectations. You know, all of us are real high probably on dominance and influence, and so it's very frustrating for us to get into meetings and talk about feelings and then not be able to walk away with, you know, we're going to do this, and this, and it's going to get better. But we have to enter this with very low expectations, build on the small wins before we move on to the harder stuff. A friend of mine that's now passed on, a production guy, Shannon C., said, we have to take baby steps before we can haul ass. So thank you again for this opportunity. Would certainly welcome anybody that wants to share their feelings and perspectives on this subject and how we can move forward better as an industry. Thank you.